Well, good morning. We are here this is April the 23rd, 2020, and we are celebrating 9 years with each other. So Stacy, in her great love for me, agreed to come and share in doing a live with me. we were looking at some pictures, and we were like, even when we were first married, we were always messing with technology, sometimes when she didn't even want to. So it's part of our life now.
It is an appropriate way of celebrating an anniversary is to share it with the world.
Yes, and so it's coffee time with Pastor Joseph, and instead of having coffee, we're actually having tea this morning. And let's see if we can actually make this happen.
Ooh, look at that steam.
Ooh, la, la, la. And yours tea.
Were you going to tell me about the tea?
So the tea that we have here is from the...
Café du Coco.
Yeah, it's from Natasha de Coca. She does you play the harp for her sometimes.
I play the harp at a tea room that's in Littleton, down in Denver. And it is such an elegant place. So they've made it like an old world place. And she has her own tea mixes that she puts together. So this is the Regal tea that we got.
It's a peach
one.
Tealicious white peach is the flavor of this one. And so
yeah,
we had it when we were there. It was a Christmas tea.
Yes.
Stacy played for several of them, and then we all went, and the boys dressed up in their little bow ties, and we all went and had a high tea at the Café du Coco. So if you're ever in this area and businesses aren't all shut down, you should come and drink some tea at the Café du Coco. And it's a little shocking when you first go and you're like, wait a minute, I'm going to pay how much money for a pot of tea? And then you're like, oh, but it's not just...
It's a high tea.
It's a high tea. And so you come in,
wonderful,
you sit,
delicious treats on trays, and
it's
super fancy.
It's really
tea,
awesome.
All silver. And it's beautiful.
So we have been online. You've noticed, if you've been following me on social media, people have been wishing me a happy anniversary for the last about week and a half. And so we need to explain again why our anniversary is so long.
Yes, because then the next week comes along and we're saying we're celebrating our anniversary again, and everyone's like, I thought you were doing that earlier. We do. Right. We have 2 anniversaries for our wedding. And not because we were married twice, but... You're going to do that?
Okay. Go ahead and explain it.
Okay. So we decided to get married on the day between Easter and Good Friday because of so many things that had happened in our lives. Joseph having the Lord really love him and teach him through the concept of being a thorn-crowned man or suffering with Christ and identifying with his suffering. And then for me, since my name means resurrection, I've always just loved Easter and associated with new life. And so it just felt very appropriate to us, since we had those 2 concepts built into our lives, that we should get married right next to Easter. So the day in between Easter is our anniversary.
Between Good Friday and Easter.
Good Friday
Saturday.
And Easter.
We got married on that Saturday.
Right. And then the actual day, because Easter moves around. So we still celebrate it wherever Easter falls, but then we also celebrate it on April 23rd, which is our actual wedding anniversary.
And it's also my sister Dorcas's birthday. So
yes.
Happy birthday,
Dorcas.
She was my baby sister, and of all of my siblings, I felt the most like a big brother to her all growing up, because I was 15 when she was born. So I really felt like she was my little sister a lot. And now she travels the world and does things and is like an adult. It's amazing. But happy birthday, Dorcas.
They do that.
So today is our anniversary, celebrating 9 years, and
it's our 2nd anniversary. We already celebrated Easter last.
Right. So I guess we've had 18 anniversaries.
Yes, that is true.
9 years, 18 anniversaries.
Yeah.
So that's why we feel like old married folks sometimes.
So we brought out our wedding album because we would like to show you a few things from our wedding. And just
this is really good tea.
Yeah.
That's why I like this tea. It's really good. So this is, I think, the very first time. I'm trying to remember if I've done a coffee with Pastor Joseph with tea. I know I've done it with decaf coffee. And anyway, but I promised at the beginning that there would be a mug and there'd be something in it. Might be kombucha or something. I've not done kombucha yet. Haven't done kefir. But
I
now
just
I'm doing
made some
tea.
kombucha this morning, so next week, kombucha story. Here
Okay.
it comes.
Well, I still have an opinion about kombucha, so it's great. It tastes like kombucha.
Yeah, shocking.
Yeah. So the thing, though, with celebrating anniversaries is that it's really good for us to take time and remember the things that God has done for us.
Yes.
Because if I go back, I've been married for 9 years, and if I go back 10 years, then I was living all by myself. Oh, hi, Mava. It's good to see that you're listening. I was actually just thinking about you because the house I was living in when I was in a bachelor and by myself was the house that eventually she helped me with an appraisal and stuff when we were getting ready to sell it then. And so that was or actually I think when I refinanced it at one point. So anyhow, if this whole thing was happening right now with the COVID-19 response, I would be a bachelor by myself, and that would be so sad. And so I am very, very happy that I don't have to social distance from this girl. So it's been a blessing, but it's good to sometimes remember because life happens. We have 4 boys running around. Actually, one just fell asleep. That's awesome. He's asleep on the couch. And it's a blessing that we have all the boys. It's a blessing that I'm a pastor and there's a church. It's a blessing that we're filmmakers. It's a blessing that we get to interact with all these people. But life gets really busy, and we have to stop sometimes and remember. And that's what anniversaries are for.
Yes.
It's to help us remember. So Stacy has our scrapbook out, and it has some of our wedding pictures in it, and I wanted to share some of those. So
we might be prejudiced, but we feel like we had the most special, symbolic, and meaningful wedding ever.
It's like that sign that I see in people's house. Every love story is awesome, but ours is the best, or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we happen to have had other people tell us, though, that we had the most meaningful wedding. So
that always makes me a little sad.
I don't know if they were married yet.
Well, yeah,
Maybe
some of them were. They were married, and they said that ours was the most meaningful wedding. And then I was like, well, but what about yours? Like, but I understand what they mean.
They didn't say it was their favorite. They just said it was meaningful. We did a lot of things to show what God had been working in our lives up until that point, and we wanted to commemorate those on our wedding day. So I think that's what made it so meaningful.
Yes. So now we want to look right here at this page, and I think I can show it to you right here.
We're going to try and share.
Yep, not that one. Maybe this one. So, there. On our day of our wedding, on April the 23rd, 2011, we dragged our poor family out for a sunrise blessing service.
Because sunrises had always meant a lot to me, because it's the symbol of new life. It's a new day starting. So I've always loved a sunrise more than a sunset. And my family graciously woke up early enough on our wedding day to go out and have communion at sunrise and dedicate this day to the Lord and our lives to Him.
And so here
Joseph also proposed at sunrise to me. So
in the same field where we are right now, we're not.
Well,
yeah.
In the pictures, we're
not here. This is not a field. This is a table. But in the picture where we are, if I can find us again, that is a field, a pasture where I proposed to her. Not right at this spot, but a little bit away from here. But here we have Pastor Little Bear praying for us at sunrise. He was such a blessing to us in that he was willing to get up that early and be at our sunrise service and then perform our wedding that afternoon. So that was a huge blessing.
It was.
And we have just our parents read blessings to us there as well. I think, well, your parents did. And,
yeah.
And then my dad blessed us at
your parents did too.
At the service there. Oh, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Right.
We have them in here.
Right over there, you see a whole bunch of, on the left-hand side, there's a bunch of blessings down there. Okay. So,
yeah, and this is a pasture that I often wandered in. It was right behind our house, and just acres and acres of cow pasture. And I would pray and spend a lot of time out there. We filmed a movie out there. We did a lot. So I know it's just a cow pasture, but it has a lot of significance to me, and it was a very beautiful place.
And then that afternoon, here was our wedding, and we had Pastor Doug was leading the music, and Pastor Little Bear did the service for us. And I think I have this picture again is my father is there praying a blessing over us, or pronouncing a blessing on us, and Little Bear's blessing us as well. And so it's been a huge blessing to me, is that I've been those who have walked in the faith before me, who have really blessed me and encouraged me and helped me to walk and to be faithful, which is what weddings are for, is to have witnesses there, and to be able to encourage each other in the journey of life. And so I've been very grateful for the people that were at our wedding, for the people that have spoken into my life since then, before then. It's a huge blessing. That the fellowship of the saints is a huge blessing.
Yes. Do you mind if I share about walking in?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
So I always was bothered by the fact that they called it the girls' day, and that she walks in and everybody stands up for her, and it's like she's done some great, amazing thing. And I thought, well, the person who's really worked hard is the man, to prepare himself to take on a bride. So why are we celebrating the girl when all she did was just live at her father's house? And
she did more. She was also preparing.
It should be a day of celebrating that the man has the maturity, the strength, the wisdom to take on and lead a family. And so it just always bothered me that we over-celebrated the girl. And being a girl, I thought I had the right to say that. And so when we were putting our wedding together, I didn't want to walk in like that by myself. So
we actually had a conversation with Pastor Little Bear and Marilyn Wheeler, and we talked about the potential. Stacy had this idea where she was like, what if we... And actually, we talked a lot about we even talked about making a movie where I'm out there with my guys and we're getting ourselves in our armor and we come riding in, and you see us riding in the movie, and then we show up at the wedding and the trumpet blows and I walk in and there's Stacy waiting with her 10 bridesmaids.
Yeah, to be more symbolic of Christ, because he's the one who has purchased his bride, worked for her, and is preparing a place for her, and we're just sitting here waiting on him. And that's more of the biblical picture. And so if I was waiting on stage and he came in to claim his bride for the sound of a trumpet.
So we talked about it, and Marilyn was very sweet and she was also very respectful and understanding of what people think. She's like, well, the problem is that sometimes people don't understand, and they just think they would see me as a chauvinist pig if we did something like that, and they wouldn't actually get the symbolism.
Stealing that girl's day and stuff.
So we didn't do that.
We compromised. Instead, we both walked in from either side and walked onto the stage while the music was playing.
Yeah, and so we don't have a picture of us coming in.
Coming down the aisle, yeah.
We don't have a picture of all the girls and everyone coming down the aisle.
But we did leave in a fun way, because the men held their swords over our heads, and we got to walk under a tunnel of swords.
We didn't hold our swords over your head like it was. Well, it's in a royal sort of way, not a threatening kind of taker. Okay, let's see if I have that picture here at all. Nope, that's all of those. Let's see. Not that. Here we go. So on our wedding day, there we are both standing. This is after we've walked on.
The one with Doug. You didn't get big enough to get that one?
Oh, I think I have that picture.
Okay.
Well, don't I?
It's on the other page. The one there.
There.
Oh,
this
you
picture.
can see it in the bottom there. They've got their swords raised.
Yeah.
And we're walking out underneath them. So, yeah. We've got it there.
There, a little bit. Okay. Yeah. So that was on our wedding day. But
that was once we were married.
But on our wedding day, we actually went and... was this in here now? I'm getting lost. During our wedding, we shared both of our shared a bit of our testimony of how God had been working in our lives as we got to the point of marriage, and then we had written out our vows, and that's what you see there in the green and we wrote our vows to each other. And you see, I think, is there a close-up here of the... No, that's just the next page. And so we shared these things, and then we wanted it to be symbolic and special, which is what everyone wants in their wedding. You want it to be something that you can remember, because you really need to. As the storms of life come along, you really need to be able to remember why you got married in the first place. And I needed to remember I chose this one as my bride, and that it wasn't just some cosmic accident that happened to me and therefore I was ruined. But I needed to remember that I was a man, that I chose her, that I needed to lead us spiritually, lead us in our relationship. And there's been lots of times when I just wanted to pity myself and go hide in a corner instead of being a man and facing the world out there and taking care of us. And so it's always good to remember. And so this was part of remembering was all of the things we did here, but I also wanted, when Stacy came to me, we were thinking a lot about how Christ in the church, what that looks like. And there's a lot of that we can't fully see until that day, and I'm looking forward to that day. But there was this one little bit that I did do where on the wedding day, I gave Stacy you can see it down there in the corner, we gave her a white stone. I gave her a white stone with her new name written on it. And if you're familiar with Revelation, you know that that's what it says that happened in Revelation, was that there was that to him who overcomes,
I will give a white stone with their new name written on it.
And so this is not the new name that you will receive in heaven, Stacy, but this was the new name that we had, that you got that day. You became Stacy Elizabeth Graber. So that was...
Again, because our whole wedding was themed after resurrection and new life, and then identifying with Christ and his suffering. We're going to sing our song for them.
Oh yeah, we sang a song on our wedding day. Right here. Ooh. Actually, you can just barely see us singing. But I'm just going to we'll just look at you for real right here. But this was a song we sang because we're talking about the resurrection, because we're talking about dying to ourselves with the crown of thorns and Good Friday and stuff. And so this was just a little song that we sang that was a real blessing to me in my life. Yeah. Ready? Mm-hmm. I want to know Christ and the power of his rising, share in his suffering, conform to his death. When I pour out my life to be filled with his Spirit, joy follows suffering and life follows death. Amen. That's Amen. A beautiful verse. That verse in Philippians 3:10 became sort of our married life verse. We each had our own life verses, and then Philippians 3:10 became our life verse in our marriage.
Right. Of dying to ourselves, that I may know Christ and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his suffering, being conformed to his death. Some people thought it was an interesting twist that at a wedding we had such a theme of death and suffering, but we said you've got to have that if you're going to have life and resurrection. Right. And we are dying to ourselves. We're dying to our single selves, and we're being made one flesh now as a new creature.
And I think our young people would be better prepared for marriage if they realized how much
that you got to die to yourself.
How much you have to die to yourself. It's good, but you have to die to yourself if you want to fully experience that goodness.
Right.
So here are a few more pictures from our wedding day. We have our family photos that we took. We have the different pieces that were happening. We had
our cake has a star in it because that was symbolic in my life a lot, and then a crown of thorns because that was symbolic for Joseph.
And then afterward, we went out, and my brother had gotten our Amish buggy up and running, and got a horse. And he had to bring a trailer for the horse and a trailer because we were getting married a couple hours away from where it was. He brought it all over there, and at the end, we walked out of the church building. We got onto an Amish horse and buggy, and Jonathan drove us away. When we headed off on our honeymoon. So, and then I have a few pictures here, I think, from our honeymoon. And there's the picture of my brother Jonathan taking us away on the horse and buggy.
And Joseph hates green beans, so they tied green bean cans to the back of it.
Just to be mean to me. And then, so there's the buggy, and then here is actually of our honeymoon. And one of the favorite pictures that I still have of Stacy was one of those I took that morning. We were in. I will show you the picture again in a second here, but we went to Arkansas, to the
Hot
Springs area, the Petit National Forest area, for our honeymoon. Beautiful place. And the weekend we went there was a tornado, or the week we were there was a tornado on the second day we were there that destroyed buildings and stuff.
It was actually a world record setting night for the most tornadoes ever at one time. There were over 100 night. We were in a condo kind of hidden away in this little forest resort. And we heard a lot of rain. It was like storming a lot. And the next day when we went out, we were like, wow, there's trees down. It was amazing. We couldn't go on our canoeing adventure because the water was at 22 feet flood stage. Above flood stage.
Yeah, above flood stage. And so we had some issues. But
the waterfall was very large and muddy.
Yeah.
So it was flooding too.
But we got to go see some things, one morning we went on a hike, and we went up on top of a ridge, and it was all foggy everywhere, but there were honeysuckle flowers, and I have this beautiful picture of Stacy smelling the flowers, and it's still one of my absolute. Whoop! Where did it go? It better.
Going the wrong way.
Am I going the wrong way?
I think. I don't know.
It looks like I'm going the wrong way. It's supposed to be in here. Hold on. That picture right there. Is it not in there? I'm going to find a way to show you this picture. So, hold on. Okay, well, I'm going to just let
me talk for a minute.
Here we go. Stacy can chat. What do you want to say, Stacy? While I find my favorite picture of you from our honeymoon.
Yes. Anyways, so it made it very exciting and different. We enjoyed our time together, but we also felt a lot of pressure because we were filming Indescribable just 2 months after that, and we had auditioned people for it right before we left, and they were emailing us while we were there and like, did we get a part? We're trying to plan our summer. And so there was also a lot of pressure there. It was almost like hard to relax and take a vacation when we had so much work in front of us. But it was beautiful.
It was also just
it
was a real foreshadowing of what our lives were going to be, that we're always working on a movie. There's always pressure. There's always a film project. There's always something going on. All right, I'm almost got it here where I can show you the picture. Here we go. This is my... Just right. Here we go. This was my favorite. Hold on. Almost. This resizing business isn't quite working the way I want it to. There we go. This is my favorite picture of Stacy on our honeymoon. Yeah.
I love honeysuckle.
I love honeysuckle too, and I think it was beautiful. Stacy was beautiful. It was a beautiful morning. It was very, very foggy up on the ridge that day, and so here you can't really see it as much because we're in the green. Everything was so green.
They said there was a view at the top, and so we climbed the whole mountain for the view, and when we got up there, it was so foggy you couldn't see anywhere.
You couldn't see a single thing of the view. That's true. So,
but the hike was gorgeous.
The hike was gorgeous.
And we couldn't canoe, so what else do you do?
Well, and what we've found is that there have been a lot of times in our life where we go up to see a view, or we go expecting to be able to see far into the future, and we get there and it's foggy. And it's so much a picture of life, is that there are some things that God tells us very clearly, right, and we can see them and clearly understand it. And then there's other things that we want to look ahead into the future and see it, but we can't actually. And so we have to trust those things into God's hands and just walk with the light that we've been given. And yes, that has been a picture. The day I proposed to her, I proposed at sunrise, and the sun, it was covered in fog and didn't come up until 10 o'clock that day. And so
it was a fog at sunrise. Yes.
So that keeps happening to us. Kind of funny.
At least the day of our wedding, it was. The sun broke through the clouds for a few minutes.
Yes, at the sunrise blessing time. So that
other memory from our honeymoon was when you killed that snake. Because it was flooded, we went out for a walk, and there's huge trees down over the pathway, and everything is flooded. So we're walking through several inches of water, and then there was a water moccasin.
Yeah.
What did you kill it with? You found a big rock, right? Or
I just
a tree limb that was there.
I think I chunked a rock on its head. Yeah.
It was different, but our life has been different.
I was being a hero and protecting my beloved from the dangerous snake.
Yes.
So, but I have one other thing here. So this candle is actually a candle that was at our wedding 9 years ago, and you can see it is pretty much gone. And so we have enjoyed the candles. We actually had several of these. We had some green ones, some blue ones, and some white ones. And so these white ones that we have here are not from our wedding. We just love candles. But I wanted to light our little candle one more time on our 9th anniversary, just to celebrate the fact that
if we blow it out fast, we can do a 10th anniversary too. We'll have to blow it out fast.
The fire does not live in the candle. The fire lives in us, and we represent it with a candle. So here I'm going to light our little anniversary candle. And there it is. The light's still burning, but I'm telling you, really, the fire comes from within. It comes from the Lord, and we love each other no matter how many candles we burn through in our life. But I do like the symbology of a candle, because the candle is lit. You have to light it, you have to trim it, you have to take care of it. So, purple and green, that was the colors of our wedding.
So make certain you take time to remember. Do things throughout life that are memory makers. Set up those stones so that you can tell your children about it later. They love looking through the photo album and asking us about it. We filmed it, so watching the video with the kids and letting them know how much their mom and dad had to make a decision to love each other all those years ago and stick by it. And our kids have seen us stick by it. They didn't see the moment when we were getting married. But they see the sticking by it.
Love is a decision you make every day. In a lot of instances, you have to choose to die to yourself and to love again. And it's just really good for me to remember. And so I love when we write things down. I love pictures. I like to be able to go back and be reminded of what it was that attracted me to Stacy, why I loved her, what God was doing in her life, what God was doing in my life. And it just over and over again, I have to thank the Lord for how good He is for bringing us together. We're broken human vessels, and yet He loved us enough to bring us together. And it's much better together than it is single. Let me just...
Amen.
Absolutely. So there we are. We're celebrating our anniversary again. But now you know that our anniversary starts on the... Well, actually, it can be later. Sometimes April 23rd is the first day, and we celebrate until the Saturday between Good Friday and Easter. But that's how it starts. It's that time between April 23rd and Good Friday and Easter. That's when we celebrate our anniversary.
And then we just celebrate our marriage the rest of the year.
Yes. Yep. So, thank you for tuning in, and I encourage you to take time to remember, be encouraged with the relationships that are in your life, be intentional about loving the people that God has given you and placed in your life. And we'll see you next time.